we do support AWS buckets as well as Google Cloud Platform bucket as underlying system cache and image servers as well. So for that, you need to have an AWS account. And once you have this account and you're logged in, you simply need to create a new bucket. And the series of steps I'm going to show you now will introduce you to creating a bucket, making that bucket public, assigning some privileges to that bucket so that all images that you store inside will be available publicly, which means the get. And after that, I'm going to show you how to create a CloudFront distribution so that you can serve your images from the edge locations that AWS offer. And those edge locations are there for making sure that your images are served very fast from any clients requesting images from your servers. So first step, I'm going to create a bucket. And the bucket name I'm using, this one for a demo, is called, well, let's call it shopizer version 2.11.0. And I'm going to leave the region as US East. And once that is done, keeping the original configurations. Next, I'm just going to uncheck the blocking of our public access. So that means I have the intention to make my bucket public. For that, I need to accept this notice here. Click on next, and then I am just going to confirm my intention and create a bucket. So once this bucket is created, it is now public, but I need to assign some privileges to that bucket for making sure that all images can be served. So now the bucket is public, but not the content. So I need to make the content public as well. So I'm going to create a policy for that. So just by clicking on that, it opens a window where I just can copy my policy. So for that, there's a bunch of policy that AWS created, and you can find a few examples on their website. They have, let's say you want to create, let's say, MFA, multi-factor authentication for a bucket. You want to authorize a bucket to certain users, or just authorize a bucket for a specific IP address. The one I am interested in here is a way to, let's say, have my bucket, the policy for have my objects inside my bucket to be public. So I'm just copying that here. Only thing I need to change is the name of my bucket that I can find here. So I'm copying that. So that means that it allows to get any object of that bucket here. So I'm just creating that, saving that. And this bucket has public access. So that's the confirmation I want to see. Click on that. I'm just going to do a quick test. So click on the bucket. I'm going to upload a file, simple file here. Let's say I have this logo file. I drop this file here and click on next. And that's okay, default. Now I'm going to specify which storage class. The one I am interested in is standard storage class. As you can see, this is probably the most expensive storage class but it's, you know, when you have few objects in your bucket, it's very cheap. But this one, there's no minimum storage duration rule here. So I think that if I want to save multiple images for a while, and I want to keep them for multiple months, I'm going to, if I want to have something cheaper, I'm going to use standard infrequent access. The thing is that the duration has to be 30 days. So if you keep, even if you keep the object 3 days, there you're going to be charged 30 days for that. So for the sake of that demo, I'm going to click on standard. There's no minimum duration, and that's the one I'm going to use, which is more expensive, but I don't care. I'm going to delete this bucket right after. So after that, I just I upload this file. Make sure everything works. I click on it, and I have the public URL here. Click on it. There you go. I have the file. So once my bucket has been created, the next step is to create the CloudFront distribution that will create some edge locations to serve my image from multiple locations around the world. So edge location is what it means is that you have your website in one region. You have let's say you have a small instance. You don't have something big, and you have some clients from all over the world, and you are serving a lot of images. And to save the latency from those clients to reach the image from your server or your bucket, which is in one specific region, then your clients will get the object from the closest edge location, and these one will be fetching the image. But once the image has been fetched for the first time, it's going to be cached close to the client. So that means less latency and image served faster. So that's the concept of edge location. Going back to AWS, I am going to simply click on CloudFront here. And I am going to create a new distribution for my bucket. So the kind of distribution I'm interested in is web distribution. So the origin name, from a drop down, I select the bucket I just created, which is this one here. Origin path, all the rest of the fields have no incidence on what I'm doing. I want to serve HTTP, HTTPS. I want to serve the GET. That's what interesting. This was I'm looking for. I have some tunings that I can do on the TTL here, but I think it's optimized right now for what I'm trying to do. This one might be interesting. The price class here. Of course, there's a small fee for using CloudFront. They have different price class depending on what you're trying to do. So if your website has international client, you might want to select this price class, which is of course more expensive, but provides best performance. If your website, let's say my website right now will probably be only available from US customers in Canada and Europe. So I'm going to select this price class, which means less edge location, but less expensive. The remaining is okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and create the distribution. Let's let you know this takes quite a long time. It takes a few minutes to create. So I am going to pause the video and come back once it's created so I can test that everything works fine, and after that I can jump on Shopizer and start configuring it so that I can save some images and retrieve them from the CloudFront location. Okay, so after a short, long wait, I have my distribution created, and I can see that from the list and from the date it was created recently. So I need to grab the domain name of that distribution and do a quick list. And this is available here from all the fields. I have one which is called domain name. Click on that. I'm going to test that it's, well, that is working correctly. So taking that, copying this into a new tab, and then I think that the name of the file was logo.png, and that means that the CloudFront distribution is configured correctly and it's pointing to my bucket. So going back to CloudFront here, that's enough for what I have to do on my side. Although there's a bunch of other functionalities relying to reports and analytics that are available. So this might be important if you have a lot of images and you want to understand how the cache is working and so on, so you can tune a little bit your distribution. But for a standard use case like mine, it's going to be enough for me. So I'll continue by configuring shopizer to use the bucket to save the image, and configure shopizer to use the CloudFront distribution to view the image and files. All right, now that we've configured the CloudFront edge location and we've configured the bucket, the last thing remaining to do is to configure the shopizer configuration, so that from the application we can store our files inside the bucket and read them from the CloudFront edge location. So going back to the project here, I'm using Eclipse. That's the IDE that I'm using. I've imported the project, and all the submodules are here. And the configuration for the CMS is under SM core. Okay, core is the set of library and the piece of the software that does, as it says, the core stuff. And of course, it does the management of saving and retrieving the images and files from the content management system, the underlying system. So if I'm opening the under SRC main resources as any good Spring-based project, there's a file called shopizer core properties. When you double click on this one, it contains a bunch of configurations that are explained or well documented elsewhere. But what is of interest is how do we configure the CMS. So there's a set of properties that starts with config.cms, and by default it is configured with default, and default means that the underlying system is Infinispan, which is the cache for saving the images. Infinispan is very good. I like this product, but if it may not be perfect for serving large projects where you have a whole bunch of images and you want to leverage the CloudFront and other similar technologies for saving your image from edge locations. So there's the other ones that are supported are HTTPD, and this one is it requires an HTTP server accessible, so it's like an Apache or an Nginx server. You might want to save the images on that server, so shopizer core libraries will save the image on Nginx folders and use the web the website to retrieve the images. Two other supported are AWS and GCP. The one we're looking at right now is AWS Bucket. So I'm changing the method for AWS. And the content URL is only the CloudFront URL that we've grabbed. So if I go back to my project and I go back to here, just type CloudFront. I'm going to grab the configuration that I did previously. So the domain name that has been created is this one. Just copying that and setting this URL here. So all right, so now we have CloudFront configured, and we specified that we are using AWS. And the second part of this configuration is how do we save the images and files. There's a configuration config.cms set of config files that configuration properties, sorry, that are specific to AWS, which means that it requires the bucket name, and it requires as well the region in which the bucket has been created. So if I go back to AWS, not this one here, and I have the bucket that was created earlier, and that's the name that I'm going to steal here. Just copy that inside the name of the bucket and the region. So the is US East. Okay, so there's no region here. The bucket is inside the global configuration, but when you configure the global, technically it's under a specific region, and the one we used when you created the bucket is US East, North Virginia. So going back here, I have this region configured as in lowercase. That's the code that you need to use in the API. It's like this. That's the identifier of the region here. So now I have configured my public URL. I have configured the method, the name of the bucket, and the region. And the only thing remaining is to test all of this. The thing is that this piece here for saving the image uses the core libraries. Use a Java library from AWS, and for being able to use that library, you need to specify the access key and secret access key for using this library, and those need to be defined. You can use a library by specifying those values here as environment variable. So that's my preferred way of setting that, and probably that's the only one that will work. So what I like to do before building and testing everything, I'm going to create a new run configuration here. I have a bunch of run configuration for all the specific environments. I have a simple configuration that is this one, and I'm just going to check the environment. So this is the one I'm using. It's plain, except that in the environment tab I've set two environment variables, which are the access key and secret access key. Okay, so those are values that are going to be passed to the application when the server starts, and the underlying AWS library will pick those values and be able to invoke the API for saving the images and files. So I'm going to simply run this configuration. Okay. So, and this configuration, just to let you know, so the main class is the entry point, which is the Spring Boot entry point that is going to run. So that's what I'm interested in. Okay. So by running that, I'll be able to check quickly if everything is configured the good way. And if we done the things right, I should be able to save some images and retrieve them from inside the application. So I'm opening a browser, going to the administration page. That's a plain configuration. Nothing has been done except a few tests, of course, but nothing major. So that's a plain application. So I just cloned the app from GitHub and played a little bit with it, but there's not that much configured right now. It's not configured with MySQL. It's configured with H2. So that's the basic configuration when you install it for the first time. Okay, so right now, what I want to do, for instance, I want to save a logo. This logo here. I'm going to try to upload that and see if it works. So that means that it works. So just to go back on the branding here. So that means that the logo was picked from the bucket. So another sample that I'll do, I'm going to just create a new product. Let me see if I have something here. I have nothing. So I'm going to create a new product that is going to be identified as test123, and the name is going to be test image, and just small price, yeah, $9.99, smaller price, at least one. And I'm going to save an image for that product. That let me see, where can I pick a nice image for that. I think I have some demo images. Yeah, let me pick this one, and I'm saving that. Here we go. Expect to see that. Then I'm opening the last thing, I'm going to expose this product on the first page, and I'm going to request this. I see my logo, I see this image, and if I inspect this image, yeah, that's my CloudFront distribution here. So last test for me is to open my bucket and see what happened. I have those products here, and I created a new product. I think it's this one, and it creates the image, small one and a large one.